It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Freeman Michaels here with my co-host Barnet Bain and our wonderful guest, Darryl Anka, who's also the channel for Bashar. Before we went to break, Barnet, we were alluding to your favorite topic.
My favorite topic.
Pair of
you
ducks.
Promised we would get into a pair of ducks. So paradox for our for the benefit of our listeners who haven't been tracking this conversation. Paradox, a holding of two or more separate frequencies of idea and or action simultaneously without reduction of attention assets from either task. Now, scientists love
What the heck did you just say?
Neuropsychologists. I'm working with some neuropsychologists, and they love that kind of talk. Love it. So, what else
Good.
is paradox?
If they're listening to the show, then we've still got an audience.
Well,
if
we
they're
got
not,
we got
we
one.
lost
We got
them.
one or two. What else is paradox? Paradox is also has a mystical function. Paradox is also a channel of communication from aspects of the self beyond logic and reason, from an ultra-creative self. And I am quite confident that you have a considerable amount of insight into this that you'd like to weigh in
Bashar
on.
talks about paradox all the time. In fact, he calls paradox the point of power. Because
that's
if you
fantastic.
are understanding things which appear to be opposites at the same time, that means you have to be in the center of those two things. They have to both be coming from you. And therefore, it positions you squarely at the center, squarely at the balance point, which is your point of power.
Oh, that's so good.
You just paid for yourself,
Yeah,
Darryl.
and he did it in one sentence,
One
Barnet.
sentence just paid for. So let's wrap
need
it up.
him
We
to-
can go home.
That's right. The brilliance of
That was fantastic.
fantastic.
It's a good thing we're going to lunch.
So but I'm going to say more about it. So the dimensional perspective.
Don't ruin that.
I'm not going to ruin it. Come on now. The dimensional perspective as being empowering is really exciting to me because in my life I was very attached to an either-or paradigm. What you're suggesting is it's a both-and, that there's
Yes.
multitudes of different ways to look at things and they can all be held simultaneously.
Yes, Bashar often says it's not this or that, it's this and that. And that when you do that, you have to expand your consciousness to include what appears in the physical reality to be opposites, but from a higher perspective, it can be seen that those are simply different aspects of the same one consciousness.
And they're just possibilities.
And they're just choices.
I love it.
They are choices. It's a frequency game. They are choices that disparate choices apparently, and we experience them as such. But when we begin to play that energy game, when we begin to become frequency alchemists, we begin to mix these things.
There's some good language.
They become not confused but co-fused,
Yes.
and they lift to a higher order of harmony and complexity.
Absolutely.
So we have
Now
talked-
we can go home.
Now we can go home. Drinks all around.
we have talked on this show before. I think we made the distinction. We talked about beauty on this show as beauty as being a frequency.
Yes.
Or they are really a harmonic of frequencies. Beauty. Think exhilaration plus serenity experienced simultaneously is beauty.
That's a good one. I like that formula.
Now, what is wonderful, what we love about this conversation, and you're going to jump in here in miraculous ways, I know it. What is wonderful about this conversation is as we begin to, as we increasingly expand consciousness, we become more and more attuned to the resonances of paradox.
Yes.
So what are we waiting for? What do you think might be in store if we begin to cultivate paradox consciously with intention? All new capacity.
We'll become conscious creators instead of unconscious ones. We start to realize that within every question, the answer is there. And as Bashar says, all we have to do is take that little bent question mark and straighten it out into an exclamation point to realize that we wouldn't be able to even ask the question if something in our consciousness didn't understand the answer already. The question would never occur to us if the answer wasn't already there.
That's fantastic.
We become clearer. We become more transparent. We become more of who we actually were created to be.
And we stop waiting. We stop waiting for something outside of us to happen. This incessant, fixation on the collective. How everyone has to change. It's not required.
Yes.
We begin to become players, conscious co-creators,
yes.
conscious players. But it is a very, very different game.
Yes.
When we begin to generate reality, not out of a reaction to causes, but out of generating causes and then waiting to see the effects, or generating effects rather, and then
Yes.
waiting to see the causes. It's not no longer a cause
An
leads to effect reality.
Right.
It's an effect leads to cause.
Well, or
reality.
everything is viewed simultaneously.
Yes, but it's all viewed simultaneously, but as the leading edge of the leading edge of our reality creation, the virgin frontier of exploration, is not at the level of impact causation of pushing around the furniture. It is at the level of generating something mystically, wonderfully, co-creatively, magically, and our hand in it is this blending of frequencies.
Yes.
Blending, which can only happen when we have looked within and dealt sufficiently, not perfectly, but sufficiently with all of the matrix of limiting belief and thought and choice and decision and
Yeah,
attitude
it becomes
and biochemistry.
less of a linear space-time experience and more of a simultaneous holographic one, where you're seeing the interconnection and interrelationship of everything that exists all at once and making choices from that point of view instead of from a more limited point of view.
So now I have a perspective on this. Did you remember to pick up the gallon of milk for your wife? When it becomes...
If she's listening and there is a problem when I get home, you better get back in that bus.
the part about this that becomes so interesting...
I got it, San. I got it. It's in the back.
That's right.
I have to go pick it up because it was going to get hot in the car.
That's
And
right.
yeah, how's that?
The part about
Good cover.
this... Yeah, thank you.
Darryl has it.
The part about this that's so interesting, because we've referred to the reservation, the physical world reality, the way that we're playing out this incredible metaphysical perception that we're talking about on sort of one hand, and on the other hand, we got to pick up the milk on the way home.
Yep.
And we have to navigate this incredible... how do we describe this crazy cosmic play?
In the world, but not of it.
That's
as,
right.
as has been said before by, who was that?
Folks, yeah.
But those two things don't have to be seen as different. They don't have to be labeled as different.
Right.
Because by labeling them as different, you have a different experience of each of those things.
Well put.
But if you look at the whole thing holographically, if you live in the moment with that, as Bashar often says, it's not that you have to have a memory in the way we think we do. It's that you simply know what you need to know when you need to know it.
That's
So
fantastic.
you have access. You have access to data. You have
instantaneously
access to resources.
to information and data when you need it. It's not something you have to remember.
And
per
there's
se.
I love Bashar.
And there's
Be sure to say hi to Bashar.
Hi, Bashar.
And there's an element of choice with this dimensional perspective. So
Always.
something arrives in physical world reality. There's, instead of one way of defining it, good or bad, or two ways I should say, there's infinite. And the element of consciousness allows us to choose from a much larger...
Chicken or fish.
Or anything else you
Or
want
vegetables.
it to
Or vegetables.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything
I
else
think
you want it
one
to
of
be.
my favorite sayings Bashar has is, if there was only one way, there would only be one person. Look
That's
around.
Right. That's right. And the element that you started with, the idea of meaning. Do I want to make this meaningful? What meaning do I want to apply to this? How do I want to
We always
relate
make
to
it
what's coming
meaningful.
It's just what kind of meaning
What
That's
do
a
we
good
kind
point.
of meaning,
That's
and,
a good
and
point.
are we lit enough and patient enough to look below the surfaces of things, to discern the meaning that we're giving it, and then to decide whether it is in alignment with what our choices
And maybe we
preferences
want
are.
to change the meaning.
But I'm going to say we don't even need patience.
Love it.
Because if you're living in the moment, you're loving what you do, what are you waiting for?
That's right. That's right. And
That's great.
And if we find
Yep.
something that we've given meaning to, and we go, I don't want it to mean that anymore, we change the meaning. Or we change the
Great.
story, as
Great.
we've said. You
Yes.
know, we realize it's a story we've been telling, we go, I don't want to keep perpetuating that story. All right, I'm not telling that anymore. Boom. What happens to it? Energetically, it's gone.
Yes. Bashar recently did a
Energetically, it
seminar.
would never have been.
Yeah, he recently did a seminar specifically on the idea of how story structure is embedded in our consciousness.
Say more.
And it's really about the idea of what story are we telling ourselves, and
That's
do we
it.
want to tell ourselves a different story? And that will change everything.
Say more.
Well, the idea a long time when you deal with story structure, people have thought, well, of course there are archetypes in story structure, but Bashar is saying that story structure itself...
Energetic archetypes you're speaking to.
Yes. I mean, when you talk about a typical movie or any kind of a book or story, there
Or
are
a life
archetypes.
story.
Or a
This
life
happened, this
story.
happened.
There are archetypes within it. Bashar is saying that story structure itself is an archetype. And when you tell a story that resonates and hits all the right chords of that archetypal structure, that's when the information sticks. That's why when we tell stories, we remember the information. It's following an archetypal structure that's built into our consciousness. And when you hit those points, you can't possibly forget it because it hits all the right chords. So tell yourself the story that hits all those points in exactly the right way, in exactly the right vibration for you,
Frequency,
and that's
vibration.
who you actually are. That's your true story, your true frequency.
That's so good.
That's good.
That's fantastic. All right, I want to go in a slightly different direction, but it's all the same conversation. So let's talk for a minute about parallel realities. So
Love
when we
parallel realities.
Yeah. The way I understand it, and you may be able to clarify this because I'll probably do like Barnet
Got a hunch.
and get it all loopy. But the idea is, as I relate to something differently, I quite literally am in a different experience or something of that nature. Is that how you would describe parallel realities? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
although I'll go further with it.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Bashar has actually talked a lot about parallel realities lately, and one of the things he's actually said is, whether we know it or not, we're actually shifting through literally billions of parallel realities per second. In fact, that's what time is. The illusion, the side effect we call time, is our consciousness shifting billions of times a second from static parallel reality to static parallel reality. That creates the illusion of movement, of time. And so if you understand that you're shifting billions of times a second, you're always at a 0 point. You can always redefine yourself. It's a sequence of parallel realities that we're calling a parallel reality. So it's a direction of parallel realities. But they all exist at the same time. You can choose any path through them. And if you know you can do that at every single moment, then whatever you define yourself to be at that moment is the sequence of parallel realities you set up for uh,
I hope you're buying him a really good lunch.
Really, really good line.
That was fantastic.
Isn't that great? And then we create a context for ourselves per where we are developmentally. We contextualize it in a story,
Right.
with a present and a past and a future. We string these beads of experience in a straight line like pearls in a necklace, and we call that our story,
Right.
our present, our past, our future. Many years ago now, Bashar said something to me that was like tossing a grenade into my consciousness.
Kaboom.
He said a lot of years ago, the present is not the result of the past. That was a seismic piece of information. And it's very germane to what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely.
It is also the present is not the result of the past. It is more the result of the futures that we are choosing for ourselves, set against the backdrop of the story we tell ourselves of the past. But generally, we have been going around married to these stories and dragging our conditioned self, conditioned by our experiences that we call the past, throwing that into the future and creating these vibrations of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
The present is not the result of the past.
That's a game changer.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah, every moment is unique, every moment is new, every moment is zero.
And parallel realities, future realities, multidimensional realities, there is only now.
Right.
But they are all, it's a frequency game.
Yeah, as Bashar says, what we think of as different moments are all the same moment viewed from different perspectives.
God, I love that.
That's a good.
Love that guy, that Bashar guy.
Yeah. Is he coming to lunch too? Because he gets an extra special something. I don't know.
It won't cost you anything because he doesn't eat.
He's not a big eater.
He's a cheap date. That's
Not
even better.
he's not a big eater.
Just a little energy on the side.
All right, so I'm out of questions. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not out of questions.
Oh, well, solved everything.
What else is going on with you,
Yeah, let's
Darryl?
talk
I know
about the
you're
film
just
stuff.
finishing a movie.
We are in post-production on a movie, our first movie as a production company. It is a fictional documentary called Dearly Departed. It's shot as if we were able to take a camera into the spirit world and interview dead people to get their take on life after death.
Wow.
It's you, Darryl. I see live people.
I see live people.
When is the release date? Do we have a release date?
We don't have a release date. The film will be done sometime in February, and we'll be talking to distributors to see when we can get it into a
So
theater
we're going to
near
see
you.
it before. We're going to see it pretty soon, yeah?
You can see it sooner.
I love it.
Nice.
Cannot wait. I cannot wait.
And then, of course, when this is coming out or doing whatever it's going to do, we would love to have you back to talk about it.
Love to.
You'll be here.
All right.
I
Well,
think we
listen.
have to schedule as a regular appearance.
That's right. He'll be penciled in.
A fixture.
All right.
What's that
So
time look like? I don't have my glasses on, and
well, then
Spence, our
it's
engineer,
better
is
than
flashing. Is that pictures of your kid? Oh no, it says our time's up.
Oh,
But there
man.
is no time.
There is no
Yeah,
time.
time.
Have you not learned anything over this show?
That's right.
Do we have to do it again?
We might have to. But in this chosen reality, this chosen moment, I am going to let our audience know that Bashar.org
Yeah.
is the website. So go ahead. You're doing a good job.
Bashar.org.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
You were. You said it very well.
And we highly recommend that you go there now and often. And we are grateful that you are here now because we will be right back. But, of course, Darryl will not be with us. And, Darryl, thank you so much for spending the time with us
Thank
today.
you, guys.